Every day, thousands of massive cargo ships move between the Indian and Pacific Oceans, carrying the fuel and goods that run the global economy. Almost all traffic squeezes through a narrow gate known as the Strait of Malacca. Filter these routes by destination, and a huge share of oil heads directly to China. Beijing calls this their Malacca dilemma, an economy dependent on a distant waterway. Because China doesn't own or securely control this gate, their entire economic lifeline is exposed, creating a massive vulnerability right in the middle of the ocean. But India sits right at the doorstep. They control the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, a 700-kilometer chain forming a physical wall across the strait's western entry. At the very bottom lies Great Nicobar, perfectly positioned at the tip of the funnel. By developing this specific island, India gains the direct ability to watch, monitor, and potentially influence the endless stream of ships passing through. A simple accident of geography has handed India a massive point of leverage over its biggest geopolitical rival. Right now, Great Nicobar is largely quiet and untouched, but New Delhi is investing roughly $9 billion to turn it into an active commercial and military hub. The core of this master plan involves carving out a massive international trans-shipment port to handle heavy cargo, alongside a brand new international airport. To support this infrastructure, they're designing a new township for workers, powered by a gas-based plant. For the military, these facilities transform the island into what defense experts call a natural aircraft carrier, a forward operating base that pushes India's rapid response capabilities far out into the ocean. Beijing has spent years building up its own network of ports and bases around the Indian Ocean, a strategy often called the String of Pearls. This island project is India's direct countermeasure. India is moving away from simply observing the strait and is actively building the infrastructure required to challenge China's expanding maritime presence. But building a mega project of this scale requires tearing into one of the most fragile ecosystems on the planet. The island is covered in ancient rainforests slated for clearing. Offshore, environmental groups warn that massive dredging operations and heavy concrete construction threaten the dense coral reefs and surrounding marine life. There are also serious concerns for the indigenous populations living there, including the Shompen and Nicobarese tribes. Activists argue the rapid development could completely disrupt their traditional way of life. The Indian government maintains that the project has passed strict scientific scrutiny. According to their reports, only about 1.8% of the total forest area will be diverted, and tree felling will be strictly phased to limit the damage. They've also explicitly guaranteed there will be no displacement of the tribal communities, while mandating that all new infrastructure includes heavy resilience provisions for tsunamis and earthquakes. Securing a dominant position on the map comes with a steep cost on the ground, forcing a trade-off between geopolitical leverage and an ancient ecosystem. Once completed, the Great Nicobar hub is designed to function as a global logistics magnet, actively pulling in international shipping traffic. That traffic translates into a major domestic windfall, creating better road, sea, and air connectivity, while generating thousands of regional jobs. This economic momentum directly supports India's long-term plan to establish itself as a serious, undeniable maritime power across the Indo-Pacific. But the biggest consequence is strategic. If a conflict were to arise, India has the physical infrastructure to hold China's most sensitive choke point hostage. Power today is built with concrete and logistics. By developing this remote stretch of land, India is building a physical asset that changes the strategic calculus for every